Today on 321 Liftoff, we're on location at the famed Cape Canaveral Lighthouse in Florida's fabulous Space Coast. We'll learn how this lighthouse, first lit in 1894 and stands 150 feet high, guided the first explorers and stood tall with the dawn of spaceflight and continues to shine as we embark toward the new frontier of interplanetary travel. It's all coming right up here on 321 Liftoff.
Three, two, one, liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome to 321 Liftoff. I'm Wayne Belden, the president of Belden Communications, the publisher of the Space Coast Fun Guide and SpaceCoastFunGuide.com. We'll be bringing you 321 Liftoff each week, talking about tourism on Florida's fabulous Space Coast. With me is the host of 321 Liftoff, Bonnie King, former Deputy Director of the Space Coast Office of Tourism, as well as the past President of the Florida Film Commission. Bonnie, are we ready to blast off on 321 Liftoff?
Hey! We are, and again, we are inside the gates of the United States Air Force and at the Canaveral Lighthouse Museum. This beautiful structure and museum is open for tours. Our guests today are two members of the board of directors for the Lighthouse, Chris and Ron Ecker, and Shelley Parker, who is the owner and tour guide for Canaveral Tours. We'll discuss the history of this lighthouse and the tours that you can take with Canaveral Tours to see not only the lighthouse and the museum, but astronaut launch sites and wildlife tours that are offered. And as always, we are brought to you, 321 Liftoff is brought to you by the Beachside Hotel and Suites, located in Cocoa Beach, offering a great overnight vacation destination when you plan your visit here to Florida Space Coast, and also by Longboard's Restaurant and Tiki Bar, which is located at the Hilton Oceanfront in Cocoa Beach, offering a fabulous ambiance with great food and drink, and of course by the SpaceCoastFunGuide.com, where you will learn what there is to see and do in this fabulous area and where to do it. Joining me again, as always, is my good friend John Belden.
Good morning there, Bonnie. I'll tell you, we've had a blast already this morning. Had a really great tour, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And the history of the families of the lighthouse keepers that lived here actually goes back to 1848, which is really impressive. The first lightkeeper abandoned his position due to the threat of an attack by the Seminole Indians. And during the Civil War, the lighthouse keeper actually removed the lighting from the top of the lighthouse, crated it up, and then buried it in his orange grove to prevent it from falling into the hands of the Yankees.
That's dedication.
I'm telling you right there. Each lighthouse keeper has great stories to tell, and the history is documented here at the museum. Definitely, you got to come check this out. And eager to hear the history is my father, Wayne Belden, president of Belden Communications. How you doing there, Pop?
Oh, fantastic. Shelley was so great. She took us on a mini tour this morning to see some of the sites, and many of the lighthouse keepers and their families are buried here on the grounds of the Air Force. And we passed by the cemetery, and Shelley told us the Air Force opens the cemetery to the related families once a year so that they can come in and pay their respects. To say we're surrounded by history today is an understatement. And this lighthouse, its museum, and the surrounding space complexes that launched Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo rockets are just another reason why we want you to visit this fabulous area known as Florida's fabulous Space Coast.
Yeah, so let's meet our guests today. So we have Chris and Ron Ecker, and we also, the husband and wife team that are on the board of directors here at the Lighthouse.
I like it.
And also Shelley Parker, who is the tour guide and the owner of Canaveral Tours. So welcome you all to our wonderful podcast.
Thank you.
We're excited. Just as Wayne said, we did take a great tour, Shelley. Thank you so much this morning. And it was we got a fast drive-through so that we could really see what was going on. It's a 4-hour tour. We'll get more into that. But it was a wonderful, and it was a great presentation. And boy, you have a lot of knowledge in that little head of yours, I must say.
Very smart,
Yeah.
Man.
But just to see the things, the history,
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, a rocket actually launched right from here and from some of the major historical launches at that. And she actually showed us some really cool things from the houses and just wow, the history of it is really impressive.
Cool.
So thank you so much for that.
And right outside this beautiful museum is the lighthouse itself, which we are going to go out and have a picture taken so that when we promote this podcast, you can see you'll be able to see the lighthouse in the background. And I do know our producer, Phil, who's with us, thank you, Phil, is going to be showing some pictures as we talk of the lighthouse and things of that nature. So Chris and Ron, tell us a little bit about the history of the lighthouse.
Well, this is the second lighthouse for Cape Canaveral. The first one was actually built in 1848 down by the shore. It stood about 65 feet high, and it only shone out about 10 miles.
Wow.
Wasn't enough.
Wow.
Ships were still wrecking out there, so a request was made to build a lot higher lighthouse. West Point Foundry won the contract, but unfortunately the Civil War broke out before they could really start working on it. So the lighthouse was shelved until after the Civil War. It is an iron lighthouse. The
Cast iron.
Cast iron, yes, thank you. The original lighthouse by the shore was a brick lighthouse. So this one was completely different, and it does stand 151 feet high. So it was a lot higher, and it had a first order Fresnel lens, which really shone out much brighter.
Much brighter. And the understanding when you talked about wrecking and things of that nature was that the shoal area that goes out, I think I learned today 13 miles, that Shelley
Correct.
said. And so in that 13-mile area, if they did not see the lighthouse making and shining its light, they could mess into the rocks and tear the bottom of their ships and everything. So that's what that was all about.
Yes.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Thus the name, when people lost, as Shelley said, is Treasure Coast, which is south of us.
Yeah, she was telling us
So-
because they would all lose all their treasures. And
Lose
again,
their treasures, yeah.
isn't it interesting? All this stuff's connected. You know, you
Yeah.
don't really think about that. Like, oh, that's why it's named that. Very cool.
Very true. So then, let's see, the second one then was built and opened in 1894?
No,
60.
1868.
1868, I'm sorry. Okay, 1868. So the first one, 1848, and that was when we had the first lightkeeper. In fact, the house that we're in right now, which is the museum, is built like the house that they lived in, correct?
Correct. This house was built on the 1940 design, I believe,
Okay.
and we built this museum with funds that the Brevard County Tourist Development Agency gave us, plus the state of Florida. We was able to build a museum here, the restaurants behind us, and put in infrastructure for 2 more cottages. We wanted to
Right.
build.
And the other 2 cottages, one is going to be a replica of the house they lived in, like this,
Correct.
but will actually have the furniture, the bed, right, and things of that nature.
Yes.
Right.
So that's going to be pretty interesting. Period furniture to show that. That's very
I
cool.
think one of them is supposed to be an education center too,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Yeah, and the other one is the education center, which will be great. So, being this is a museum, and then, excuse my ignorance, but what would be the difference between this museum showing all the educational facts that you have on the wall and all the memorabilia that you have here? What is the difference between this and what the education center would be like?
We're going to have some hands-on things for students and people who visit. It's just
More like interactive.
Yeah.
More interactive.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Well,
that makes sense.
Prior to the pandemic, the school system would
Yeah.
have their school tours out here. 4th graders in
Nice.
Brevard County
That's
would come
awesome.
out on a
That is
regular
great.
basis.
Yeah.
So the hope is that I think is going to start back up again,
Right.
and the education
In
center. will be a part of
2019,
that.
I think we had 8 different schools send their 4th graders out here.
Great.
That's
And
a
then
cool
the pandemic hit, and that fell through. Now about the only thing we're getting is homeschools.
Right.
and this is a popular thing for the homeschoolers to do. So yes.
I could see that. I mean,
I like it.
go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just saying, even on the tour when you were showing us where there was burn marks, where the rockets. That's just fascinating. I think at any age. I mean, I'm at 30. What am I? 38. At 38 years old, I can imagine a 4th grader like, wow, that is so cool. This is stuff that you see on TV only, and you're right here in the midst of it.
And how cool is it that we here on the Space Coast, our students have the opportunity to come here and learn and get educated. When we were over at the Brevard Zoo, the students do the same thing. The 5th graders come in and they spend their time at the Brevard Zoo and get educated there. So I think it's cool. You live right here on the Space Coast in Brevard County, and our kids get educated, I think, a little bit beyond the norm of
Yep.
what maybe some other area may have. It's just another reason why we love living here on the Space
Well,
Coast.
that's another reason to live here.
Yeah, exactly.
And-
Exactly.
The Space Coast, there's an argument that can be made that without the lighthouse, we never had the Space Coast.
Yep.
We heard that
We heard
story
that.
today. In
Yeah.
fact, maybe Shelley, if you would like to tell us about that, that was very interesting.
Very much.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in the late 1940s, early 50s, we were launching short-range missiles out of New Mexico, over Mexico. The story is a couple of them didn't go over. They went into Mexico. So the Mexican president said, y'all need to take your toys and go someplace else. Well, there were 3 different areas they were looking at, but Florida was on that short list. They wanted to come to Florida for lots of reasons. We can get close to the equator here on this eastern course. We have the Atlantic Ocean, the eastern range we can launch over in populated areas, just lots of different reasons. But the Banana River Naval Bombing Range was what they came looking for. And that bombing range, they're thinking a flat piece of land with some targets that, and then they can launch rockets from there. When they got here, the targets were actually in the Banana River.
Oh,
so
wow.
you can't launch rockets from a river.
Yeah.
So the story is that, they decided maybe they'd go look in Georgia someplace to launch rockets, and then somebody told them that the lighthouse had 800 acres of land. One of the reasons, I think we were in the story of the original lighthouse, is that original lighthouse that was built on the coast, they moved it inland a mile. And because of that, they had 800 acres of land.
Wow.
Well, they were the same government agencies back then. They didn't argue about that too much. They just moved in with the lighthouse, Coast Guard, 800 acres of land, and started launching rockets.
So thank goodness somebody mentioned to them, hey,
Yeah.
lighthouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just think
Yeah.
this could have been Georgia.
Right.
Could have-
Yeah, I mean,
oh,
a
boy.
completely different setup here.
Yeah,
And where would we
County
be doing
owes-
our podcast?
really.
So Brevard County does owe, a great deal to the lighthouse for the space program.
So it
as far
started
as that
with,
story
you
goes.
said started with 800 acres, and how many acres do they have now?
The Cape is 17,000 acres.
Wow.
It's
17,000.
located
That's
on the
it?
Cape. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. It's,
And on our tour today, when we were going up and down the roads, they go along the coastline. The road goes along the coastline, and after you go a couple of blocks, there's the site for one launch pad. Then you go down a little
That's
bit
so
more, and
cool.
there's a site for another launch pad. Definitely historical and so interesting.
Well, and I think you just have to give a little remark to the descendants of the area here, because they did acquire the lands from the people who lived here, which, can be tough when you think about
That
your
must have
family
been tough.
history.
Think about that.
But you know what's awesome about it is we have all this protected land out here, not just for the space program, but the sea turtles,
Yeah.
Yes.
the wildlife,
There's some
the
beautiful
protected
wildlife out
species.
here.
Yeah,
The scrub
And
jays.
If it hadn't been for the missile program coming here, this would look just like Cocoa Beach. It would just be. I mean, I love Cocoa Beach.
Right.
Wow.
We have great
Right.
time in Cocoa Beach, but this would all be that, and we have so much space out here for. More
Yeah,
than
we
just
saw
launching
a
rockets.
whole bunch of turkeys today.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Remember we
Yes,
saw
we
that?
did.
You know, but if I was a turkey at this time of year, I'd be hiding.
Yeah. Probably why they're out here. They're more
You
protected.
did mention they were scrawny.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
they
they
weren't ready for our type of
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, but maybe next year.
I don't think they'll make Publix.
So, like when you take a tour here and you go to the lighthouse, obviously with our lighthouse, you go, I believe, to the 5th level, correct? You don't
Correct.
go all the way to the top where the light is.
Very seldom.
Right.
Very seldom.
Very seldom.
What's that seldom, if you don't mind me asking? Is there just because most people don't want to go that high, or?
No, because up in the landing room, the diameter is only 10 feet.
Ah,
So your tour would normally have to be between 1 and 5 people
gotcha.
plus 2 docents.
Okay.
It gets tight.
Gotcha.
Plus
Okay.
the fact the Space Force is very security conscious,
Mm-hmm.
and the steps get uneven as you go up, and it gets narrower and narrower. So, and
Send the kids up there is what you do.
I get it. All I know
That
is even,
worries me.
even getting up to the 5th floor, going up the steps is like I'm huffing and huffing, you know?
so they do practice emergency evacuation, so to speak. If someone were at the top and had to come down, it takes quite a while to get anyone down from there. So,
Understood.
so the Space Force is very health conscious about that.
Very good. Okay. So we want to talk about Canaveral Tours, or did we want to do something else?
Well, I'll tell you, this is probably a good time because we're bringing out some interesting facts. So, brought to you here, we got Space Coast This week is going to be Space Coast Trivia and Facts, brought to you by Longboard Tiki Beach Grill. Longboard's Tiki Beach Grill, one of our sponsors. A fantastic location. When you're out there on the beach and when you're coming off, they've got, 2 tiki huts?
They have 2 tiki
Two
huts.
tiki huts to come right in there. You've got beautiful thatch roof. You know, you love the tiki
Hey,
huts.
I'm a big fan of tiki hut bars, and that's it.
Their bar is fantastic. They got live music all weekend long, and they got all kinds of different specials, so you definitely want to get out there.
And they have the NFL ticket that starts this weekend as
Yes.
well, so that you can watch football. And what a great! I was there last night having dinner, and sitting around the bar, and the TVs are on. Of course, we were watching news last night, but they have a lot of sports activities that go on there as well, and they have entertainment on the weekends as well. And the other bar that's located right by the beach is really cool because you actually sit around the bar and you can actually just be right there as the water's.
It's a
the water
beautiful-
coming. Beautiful location, beautiful site, great place to go with friends and family, and a lot of local people go there just for like happy hour that happens daily from 3 to 6.
And don't
So
forget, the food is fantastic. Last
it's
time we were there, the
great.
salad was incredible.
I had
so,
the sliders last night, the beef sliders.
Did you bring us any?
No, because we ate it all. But let me just tell you, it's on that Hawaiian king bread. If
Oh,
you guys
buddy.
I got to tell you, I love bread. Everybody knows
Yes.
me knows Bonnie loves bread. Wine, bread, and cheese I could live on. But they put the sliders in this great Hawaiian king bread, and let me just tell you, it just melts in your mouth.
Well, that's Longboard Tiki Beach
That's
Grill.
it.
Get out there and check it out. So today, for Space Coast Trivia, we're going to switch it up. We've got 5 facts about lighthouses, and then we do have a trivia question here at the end. So the first fact that we'll go ahead and let you guys know that the first lighthouse was Egypt's Pharos of Alexandria, if I'm pronouncing that right, built in the 3rd century BC. Lighthouse of Alexandria was made from a fire on a platform to signal the port entrance. Very interesting. Number 2, the United States is home to more lighthouses than any other country.
That's interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
Didn't know that. I'm sure Shelley's over there saying I knew that already. With more than 115 lighthouses along the Great Lakes, Michigan boasts the most lighthouses of any U.S. state. Interesting. And lighthouses keeping was one of the first U.S. government jobs available to women going back to the 19th century. Interesting, right? Wow.
yeah.
Okay. And then number 5, the most expensive lighthouse built in America is St. George Reef near Crescent City, California. It actually took 10 years to construct, and it cost $715,000. Wow. Just a couple dollars, huh? Wow. So, that being said, if you will see who was listening, the trivia for today, which U.S. state has the most lighthouses?
Michigan.
Well, that is correct. Look at that.
Very good.
Ta-da! You get a free tour.
Maine likes to dispute that, but Michigan has them.
Oh, really? It's one of those where they want to say, no, it's us over here?
Yeah.
Well, Maine says Michigan has buoys that they count as lighthouses.
Well, that's cheating.
Yeah, according to Maine.
Well, it's according to me. Well,
Yeah.
Space Coast Trivia again brought to you by Longboard Tiki Beach Grill. Thank you so much, Longboards.
Absolutely. And you can go to their site, which is longboardstboard.com, and you can look at the pictures that are there. They're fabulous. So thank you
Awesome.
very much
Yes.
to them. So let's talk about coming out here and taking a tour. And we're going to talk with Shelley. Shelley with Canaveral Tours. Tell us how people can sign up and what do you see when you're on the tour?
So online, we have a website. You can go through the Lighthouse Foundation website and book book through there, or just direct to our website. That's the best way. You can always call us on the phone. A lot of people don't like to mess with the web, so we can do it that way. But a lot of information about the tour, which our standard tour is a 4-hour tour. It is $55 for adults, but we have children prices, we have group prices, and we have discounts, military and senior. What you do on the tour is spend about an hour here at the Lighthouse when we start the tour. All the history that you guys talked about when we went through this morning, we give that out. We have a multimedia presentation. We're proud of our van. So
You should be. Honestly, you should be. And I'll let you go, but I want to give you props here in a minute. Yeah, it's a fantastic.
I agree.
So we are a small tour. That's what you need to know. We have 10 seats. So a lot of people call me up and go, well, how far in advance do we need to book? Well, sometimes, we have an open seat left the week of the tour, and sometimes we're booked out 2 weeks ahead because, again, we only have 10 seats. So we have, a couple groups of 4 coming and booking, So you just have to be aware. You have to watch the calendar. But it is a small tour, and we'll circle around to that. That's actually how we ended up doing tours out here because of our small vehicle. But 4 hours, an hour at the lighthouse, and then we spend a good deal of time driving around the Space Force Station. By the way, you guys keep saying Air Force Station.
Yeah.
It is the
Space Force.
Station.
Yes,
we got
that's
that
true.
designation in
That is
December
true.
of last year.
Gotta give us time to
it was
let it
good-
adapt.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, yeah.
I say it multiple times a week, so I'm
Yeah,
kinda
it's
used to
easier
it,
for
yeah.
you.
But we drive around and we get to see so much of the history of the beginnings of the missile program that started out here. So before the space flight that we think of, manned space flight, the missile program, which was part of that missile proving ground that they came out here, is what started it. So we get a lot of that, a lot of the beginning, way back when Wernher von Braun and his V2 rockets came over from Germany. All the way through the Apollo program. So we'll stop at some of those historic areas, talk about the blockhouses, different things like that. And we also, at the end, our last stop here, we go to the Air Force Missile Museum, which you did the podcast from them a couple of weeks ago, I
yes.
believe. Yeah. So we go to the museum that's here on station since we've already had to provide security clearance. So that's one of the things
That's
our
cool.
tour does is we get the security clearance you need to come onto the station. A lot of people, they're like, hey, I'm retired military, I'm active military. I just want to go see the lighthouse. The people at the gate will stop you every time.
Oh yeah, they don't mind doing that either. The nice gentleman there at the gate. If
The
you
one
don't-
with the machine gun?
Yeah, that's how we used to say. Here in the Space Coast, there's another one of those heading towards like Play Linda and all that. But if you take wrong turn, the nice man with the gun will tell you turn around and go back the other way.
Yeah, with a smile.
Yes,
I mean,
with a
very
smile.
nice, yeah.
But I got to give you props if you don't mind, because I've been on a tour with Shelley before. You also have a wildlife tour.
Yes.
The van that we talk about, the bus, a 10-seat. First off, very comfortable, nice leather
Very
seats.
comfortable.
Very comfortable.
Air conditioning, you're very comfortable, which is awesome because you talk about a 4-hour tour. You have a lot of fun, and it feels very fast. But you do a fantastic job as far as while you're driving, keeping us interested with the facts. You got the TV screen up there that gives us great illustrations. So I mean, it's a real fun time, and you actually point out some things that I'm like, those are things I've wondered my whole life. Wow, it makes so much sense. So it's we had, I think, a really enjoyable time, and you provide waters and snacks and stuff. So
Not to mention the video screen.
Yeah.
So as she's talking, you
Right,
can see exactly what she's describing.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and
Video.
I thought it was interesting too that as we're taking the tour, and then Wayne or John, you'd come up with a question, and boy, Shelley, you were right on it. You knew that answer right then and there, and it was great.
A lot of that comes from people asking me questions
Yeah.
and me not knowing the answer.
Yeah.
And
Google that.
Yes, yeah,
So
right.
good.
The internet is really nice. I try to look up 3 different sources just to make sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we get people who worked out here on the program in the 1950s. They love to come. It's kind of like a sentimental tour, whatever. And I always tell them, I'm like, okay, let us know, how many of the lies are right. And,
Yeah, help us stay true.
We're just retelling stories that people have told us. So it's great. I get stories from people like that who were out here and tell us. But then again, like you said, people ask us questions, and it's like, oh, that would be kind of an interesting thing to know. So we look it up. And
I swear I've been to a doctor before, and they had to step out. I know they were good. What the heck was that?
Right.
So if they can do it, anybody can do it, right? Exactly.
So let's go back into to Ron and Chris and say, now, how did you get involved? I know that you're very involved with the Lighthouse, and you've been for a while. I saw your name on the board of contributors and people that are lifetime members. So tell us how you all got involved in this.
Back in 2007, we went to visit Cedar Key Lighthouse, and they asked us to become a member. We signed up, not realizing Cedar Key doesn't have memberships. We actually joined the Florida Lighthouse Association,
Okay.
Gotcha.
and that's a bunch of lighthouse enthusiasts throughout the state and states. And then we started getting more involved, and I tried to get out here to visit Cape Canaveral. And every time I scheduled, there were free tours running from Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I scheduled one, it was only once a month. Oh, we canceled that one. So I couldn't do it. So finally, they had a Lobster Fest up here, which we signed up for. And then I started becoming a docent out here.
Nice. Hey, and you guys, you could tell you're very passionate about it too, because I'm out there looking at things, and you're very, very knowledgeable and very open to. You could tell it's your passion. So good.
Yes, we love this lighthouse. It feels like it took us a long time to get up here, but it really didn't. A lot of people in Brevard County don't know we have a lighthouse here.
Yeah,
That's
you're
the
right.
amazing thing.
It truly is. I used to work down in Malabar, and anytime there was an article in the paper about the lighthouse, I would put it outside of my door, and I had people come by and say, "Where's that lighthouse?" Yeah, I said,
So
Cape
guess
Canaveral.
what? It's right around the corner. It's right here.
And
Yeah.
there are people living on Merritt Island who don't. I mean, we've had visitors coming
Yeah.
through here who live on Merritt Island and said, "I didn't know we had a lighthouse here."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
And
that's-
most of
that's-
these are people who have migrated here from other states. I'm sure a lot of the native people here probably know, but a lot of
Wayne,
people.
you would be surprised.
Not down south.
I have had so many people on our tour who grew up here, and they said, we didn't even know there was a lighthouse here. It's a hidden gem, you know.
Yes.
It's just
Right.
not, and the foundation has made it very much alive. They have brought so much of the lighthouse to the public. You know, when we first started doing our tour several years ago, you know, one of the things that we did was not, have you been to the lighthouse? It's, do you know there's a lighthouse here?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, and Ron and Chris can say what year the foundation really started and getting it promoted and working with back then the Air Force, but the Space Force, in getting a tour to come out here, because, you know, prior to that, you know, 9/11 shut everything down. You couldn't get out here, but making it into what it is now, the foundation really worked hard towards that.
Yeah, it was challenging because the foundation was formed in 2002, but we could not get tours here right away. The way they got the tours originally were the lobster fests.
I was going to mention the Lobster Fest. Are you still doing those?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No.
Okay. Because I've been to some
Yeah.
of them, and they're pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Love
the
lobster.
Air Force used to have free tours out here, but back in 2013, with the budget, they couldn't justify having free tours out here when they were losing money.
Right.
So they quit. And then about 2016, we tried to get tours to come out here. And it started off with Sun Tours, I think it was. But they set it up, and then the Air Force would throw something else in the game, and they couldn't take the tours. I think it was about 2018 before we started doing tours, right, Shelley?
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
2018. And one of the reasons we came in, it was the chamber. Actually, I love our chamber, or our Cocoa Beach chamber is awesome. But Jim Underwood was the president of the foundation at the time, and the chamber put us together because Jim was complaining. You know, we don't have somebody to get tours out there because it's hard to fill a bus, a 50-passenger bus. You just don't get that many, especially if you're only running them once a month. So they kept canceling the tours, as Ron was saying. But our 10-passenger vehicle is perfect.
Yep.
Because we can run tours on multiple days and get those, you know, few people to come out. You know, we usually try to have at least 4, but and up to 10, and we can run them out. And I just have to say, when you guys were talking about being docents out here, we have a great crew of docents. We have docents. They are so proud of this lighthouse, and they want to show this lighthouse off. And again, we're a small company. Sometimes we only bring 4 people out. And I have not once in all the years we've been running tours ever heard a docent complain that we only brought 4 people out.
That's great.
You were talking about that when we were on the tour, just
Yeah.
how much they love it and how excited they are to tell the story. And then again, you could tell that when we talk to you guys, and that just makes the experience that much better.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
I love it. So let's talk about let's do our other little trivia. We're doing what we're doing.
So-
Fun things or fun facts.
No, 3
that we
things
know.
you need to know. So yes, actually it'll be a good
3,
time because
yeah.
we've got some interesting people in front of us.
Yes.
So 3 things you need to know, and that's brought to you by Beachside Hotel and Suites, another one of our fabulous sponsors.
Yes.
Located right there on Cocoa Beach. I'm going to tell you, as a family person, if you go to Beachside Hotel and Suites, it's great because they provide you really everything you need. If you go into the beach, they'll give you the bicycles, they'll give you the beach boards, they'll give you the buggies, everything. And they have a fabulous lazy river, don't they?
Oh, that lazy river.
Lazy River's good, and tonight they have their Planet Palooza, which the Space Museum comes out, and you can actually look through telescopes and learn a little bit about astronomy and history and things of that nature. And they also have the NFL ticket, just
Yes.
like our other,
Longboards. Yep.
just like Longboards, so that you can go there this weekend and watch football. And people love to do that at the Duck Dive. There's also a movie on Saturday night at the Duck Dive which is a lot of fun. It's always a family-oriented movie.
Float
so-
around the pool and watch the movie. Don't get much better than
Absolutely.
that.
And they do have entertainment tomorrow on Saturday, which is Josie and Mike. They're going to perform from like 1 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So you can actually laze down the river, listen to some music, watch TV, and have a good time.
Awesome.
Sounds like a good deal. And you can call them, talk to Michelle Martindale, who's their sales director. She'd love to tell you all the wonderful things there is to see and do in not only in the area, but right there at their hotel. And you can go to the beachside hotel, cocobeach.com, and look at all the wonderful pictures that they have.
Awesome.
So that's a great thing, and we thank them very much. Okay, let's find out.
So
Interesting things.
3 things that we need to know. Shelley, we'll start with yourself, or you guys can do it together, depending on what you might have on the table. If you want to give us something that maybe we didn't know, a fun fact, or about your tour.
So the fun fact about my business is this was going to be my husband's hobby.
It was going to be your husband's
Your husband,
hobby.
and where is he?
He's working, but he wasn't. He's an engineer, and he came home one day and said, "I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. I've done enough contracts that have gotten spiraled out, and he was done with the politics." And I said, "Well, you're not doing nothing, so figure out something to do." And we are outdoor people. We love to camp. He, from his childhood, and this is his mom's influence on him. They would go camping and hiking, and he loves the outdoors. And we would take people to the wildlife refuge. And of course, living in Florida, we have people from all over the world, not the world, but the U.S., actually the world, but the U.S., that will come, and hang out with us so they can go to the beach and Disney and, all this stuff. And we'd take them to the wildlife refuge. And every time he'd get done, they'd look at him and they go, "You need to do this for a living."
I remember you telling
there you
us
go.
that
Yeah.
before,
I mean, he just loved it. So I said, "You got to do something." He goes, "Well, I'll be a tour guide." I'm like, "Go for it." So I was gonna go work and get a job, and
You know what? Life takes you where it wants to take you.
life does.
So-
And
look what
he
happened
said,
to you
"I
now."
can't do this by myself." And I'm like, "Okay." So that's how our tour business started, because that my husband's hobby. But they actually called him back to work, and after 2.5, 3 years of owning a tour company, he said, "Okay."
My wife's got it.
And he left it to you. He said, "You handle it
Because
now."
I mentioned he's an engineer.
Yeah.
So being on as a tour guide only works so many times,
Right.
and no matter how much you enjoy it. So yeah, he's back doing his engineering stuff, and yes. So,
Well, I love watching you guys together too. Again, you complement each other when you do it.
Yeah, we haven't done a tour together in a while since before the pandemic, but yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
great. That's great.
Well, we got one good or a couple good
Okay.
stories here. So we got maybe another good fact about the two of yourselves.
Well, we've been married 53 years.
53
Wow.
years.
Yeah, we have 3 children and 15 grandchildren. We have 1 prolific child.
Wow.
I mean, 3 children have the children, but 1 of them has 8. So,
Wow. I have 2, and that's a lot.
Yeah,
I
Wow.
just can't imagine.
I
Very
can't
blessed.
either, and I'm her mother.
I've got 3 wives, and I haven't totaled 53 years yet.
But
3 wives
Wayne-
at the
but-
same time?
But no, Wayne was just telling me before that he was 16 kids. Your
No,
grandparents
my
had 16.
my grandmother had 16 children.
16 children.
Yeah.
Can you?
Oh, bless her heart.
I know.
16 children.
Yeah, he was just remarking too, because we were looking around the area here. You've got the old-fashioned sewing machine that's on display here, and he was just remarking that his
I have
grandmother
my
had-
grandmother's because my grandfather was a coal miner. And they didn't have any money, to clothe 16 kids. So my grandmother had to make all the clothes for the kids. That was even pre-Depression time. So, and I have it, and it still works. So,
Yeah, 60. I mean, I got
I
2
know.
children with soccer and school and sports, and then like 16.
I can't even
Wow.
imagine.
Wow.
Anything else you wanted to share, or okay? It's okay.
I'll let my husband take the rest.
You got a fun fact about the lighthouse, maybe, that we haven't covered?
You know what I want to talk about with the lighthouse, though? I mean, looking
Yeah.
right straight ahead, is the animals. They get their own special history. Albert the cat or something. So It's interesting because we all love our animals, and so it's nice to know that back then here at the lighthouse, that when they were living here, they had their own animals, but now they have their place in history as well. I was just remarking on that and thinking that's very interesting. I'm sure there's some great stories about that.
And Albert the cat gets some boards here on the history, so you can read about him. But you can also buy his book and a stuffed animal in the gift store.
Oh, he has his own book.
Yes.
I went
nice.
shopping in the gift
Wow.
shop. That's something else you got to check out while you're here. They got all kinds of
kids
great
love
stuff.
it.
They got
Yeah.
jewelry and they got all kinds of different, like you said, like books.
That's not Albert stuff in there, is
Yes,
it?
it is. Well,
stuff in it.
thank you, Wayne. That was good. Thank you.
Piece of history.
I ran right into that one.
How much for the original? Yeah, I know. So definitely come check out, because also it supports the lighthouse. So that's a great thing to do. That's why I got some gifts for my kids, but I'm also supporting something that in turn supports us, right? Because
Right.
if it wasn't for the lighthouse, a lot of us, our businesses wouldn't be here today.
That's
And
right.
absolutely, one of the things that we always talk about too is our community and how our community has great partnerships. And so looking at this museum and you have a whole wall that is dedicated to people that have not only dedicated money and time, but also the people that have made it happen so they can build all these cottages that are going to be right here on the grounds. And of course, we want to thank the Brevard County Tourist Development Council, which I know is a major,
Definitely.
which you were able also to get a state grant as well and get money to build the cottage here and the restrooms in the back. And we look forward to the other 2 new cottages that will be coming. I'm sure that you're going to have a campaign to get money to do that as well. But when people come out here and see the history that's behind here, I think that people would want to give this community, this is a great way to showcase what we have here. I think you'll see our people come out in force and help support what you want to do.
Yeah. One of the big problems with the pandemic is we couldn't have any fundraisers. And finally, we're getting a fundraiser in October 23rd.
23rd, yeah.
American Muscle Car Museum.
Yeah.
If you've never been there, you need to go
Oh,
there.
it is amazing.
No, that's
Yeah.
the one that's only open during certain times, right?
That's yes.
For events, yeah.
Well, just for events,
Yeah,
it's not
that's it.
even, yeah.
That's what I mean. Like
We ought to go out there and see if we could do a podcast out there just so that we can see, because I haven't been out there, but I plan to go to your event because I figured that way I can go see the cars and help
The cars are
support.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. Everybody raves about it, but it's another great thing because again, he could have it and make it a business open all the time. He
Right.
only opens that up for events for fundraising. I mean, we have such a great community here in the Space
Yes.
Coast. That's why so many people move here. I mean, seriously, it's just a great place.
It's great
I-
weather.
I didn't know if I'd get a chance today, but since you brought it up, I just wanted to say this community is great. I wanted, and again, I mentioned the chamber earlier, but the businesses they really work so well together. And John with the Fun Guide was probably one of my first interactions with marketing when we started our business. I really didn't know what I was doing. And I got to tell you, John, you were awesome.
Thank you.
I really appreciate
that.
the relationship we've had over the years,
Absolutely.
and the Fun Guy was
You guys are
great,
guys are great. It's another great thing that you're offering here, and we recognize that. I mean, again, look, we're able to get people out here to see this lighthouse that most people didn't even know it existed, and it's a true treasure. So thank you to you guys too.
Yeah, and
Appreciate
speaking of the Space Coast Fun Guide, I mean, if you want a copy of the Space Coast Fun Guide and you plan on coming to visit us, you can just write to info@spacecoastfunguide.com. And I know that the employees there, the staff, are happy to send that out to you. We love the Space Coast. The residents love the Space Coast Fun Guide as well because there's a lot of discount coupons in there as well. And it also it's a great way to tell somebody who's visiting here where to go and what to see in a very fast and colorful way.
And
That's one of the comments I have to say that I get when I do show the Space Coast Fun Guide is the colorful way it's laid out.
It's done, not to get into a whole spiel with it, but
Yeah.
it's done on purpose for a lot of reasons. It makes it fun to read.
Yeah, it
And our
does.
visitors, we find, go through it from front to back. And don't forget spacecoastfunguide.com as well. You can get on there, get your coupons for restaurants, attractions, and utilize that map and events.
The map is great. Let's talk about that map. I mean, people want to know. We're long. We're 70 miles long here in Brevard County. And where do you go to watch a launch? Where are all these places located? If I want to go to the Kennedy Space Center and then I want to also go down maybe to Palm Bay, is that only like 10 minutes away? No. So, we really, need to educate people as to how long it is to get from attraction to attraction or just a different city or whatever. We've got 16 cities that make up Florida Space Coast.
When we started our tours and mapping it out and trying to figure out, where to go, it's a 40-minute drive from Port Canaveral up to the Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge. So you have to really want to go. And part of our tour and our multimedia experience is because we got to do something for 40 minutes
Right.
while we're driving, right?
Right,
We're just going
exactly.
board people in the back and the air conditioning. I mean, it's all great, but that's part of that experience that we researched a lot to try and do that, because it is so long, and when you go from one place to the other, there's a fair amount of
But
time to
at
drive.
the same time, I mean, yes, you keep it you keep it flowing, but the views are so cool, and I just can't get over that.
I know, just
driving down US 1 and just seeing across
all
the
the
Yeah.
other
lagoon
stuff.
and
Because when I'm driving, I'm not really supposed to be doing that anyways. I'm supposed to keep my eyes on the road. So when you get to do a tour, like, I didn't even know that thing was there this whole time. So yeah, very, very, very cool.
and we're very proud that we are just definitely full of water. Water,
Yeah,
whether
oh,
it be
yeah,
the ocean,
absolutely.
the rivers, the lagoon, swamps, taking airboat rides down to those into the cypress swamp or whatever. Just what could I say? We love our Space Coast area.
Yes. So
Well, we
come on
want to
out.
thank you guys so much for telling us about the museum and inviting us here to see it. And we really want not only our residents to come out and enjoy it, but what a visitor, when they're coming into the area, is how to get hold of you and how to be able to come out and see it. So your website is, tell us what your website is.
CanaveralLight.org.
Canaverallight.org. And if you want to schedule a tour, they can go to your website.
It'll link through.
Okay.
And Canaveral Lighthouse .tours. So it's not a .com. It's a .tours.
Okay.
So Canaveral.tours is our umbrella company, and you can link through the lighthouse from there, or you can go direct to CanaveralLighthouse.tours. But on Canaveral Tours, we have our wildlife tour. We've added actually a couple other ones. You just mentioned airboat ride. We've just added a package tour to take people out to the airboats out on 50 at Midway.
Awesome.
love
Our
that.
friends at Merritt rides at
Yeah.
Midway.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
We
we're
love those
doing,
airboat
we're doing
rides.
we're doing group tours. That's except for the lighthouse. The lighthouse we do individual seats, so anybody can come out and do one seat at a time. But our other tours, mainly because of the changes with the pandemic, we're doing groups. So family reunions, family friend weekends, girls' day out. Just anything, a convention that comes in, you want something to do. So up to 10 people, and we're doing some package things that we can get people
like
out
it.
and
Those of you that-
enjoy the.
Those of you that are listening from out of state, sorry, Shelley. Those of you that listen out of state and they're planning on coming here, come out and do this tour. This is historical.
I was just going to say the same thing, John. We have all the major attractions. We got Kennedy, and we got Ron Johnson, we got the Brevard Zoo, and we have all of those things and even more. But this is a place you really need to come to see. This is really, I don't know. I don't know what adjective to.
Well, and it's the combination of not only having our beach, but it's about space. It's about the history. It's just a wildlife refuge. It combines all that together.
This is where it happens.
And,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, we get so many people who come out on our tour. They're either lighthouse people.
Right.
They don't really care about the space flight, or they're space flight people and they don't really care about the lighthouse.
Right.
And they get done with this particular tour and
And
they
they're
go,
hooked.
oh yeah. They're like, wow,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Yep.
So, it's thank you, for
Absolutely.
for talking about how good the tour is, because we're very proud of it. I mean, we
Should
just
be.
think it's a great tour, and we got 5 stars. So everybody else that comes out on it.
I have ADD. You hold my attention more than 2 minutes. I mean, fine. So yeah, absolutely.
And,
It was definitely fun, and I love how they love how they built this museum. It's
Beautiful.
really, really beautiful.
It took us
And,
about 6 months to plan this all out.
yeah.
Wow.
We hired Becky, the foundation hired Becky to lead the group, and we met every week and developed all the posters in here.
Storyboards.
great. Yeah,
these are great.
Yeah,
Did a great job.
A lot of research went into it.
Yeah.
and we
Yep.
found a lot of the stuff we were telling people wasn't true.
Which of the
Yes,
lies are true?
which of the lies are true, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that
thank you
wasn't
so
anything
much.
that we said today.
No,
If we said
no, I
something
think
today,
we've-
I'm sure that you would have corrected us for sure. But again, thank you so much for bringing us out here. It's always fun, and we just never know where we're going to be. But next week, we are going to be on location at our Longboard's Tiki Grill underneath the thatched roof, and we're going to have our astronaut, Mike Mccully. He's the retired American naval officer, an aviator, and a test pilot, former NASA astronaut, first submariner in space. In addition to his time as a space shuttle pilot for STS-34, Mccully has also flown over 50 aircraft types, logging over 5,000 flying hours, and he has nearly 400 carrier landings from 6 aircraft carriers. He has some great stories to tell, and I'm really, people, we just like to know as an astronaut, what was your feeling when you were up there?
Right.
What did you come back with? And so Mike will be happy to share those with us, and that'll be next week. So again, thank you all very much for today. We're going to go out and have a picture taken with the lighthouse, and we look forward to seeing everybody next week. Thank you so much.
Well,
That's a
thank you
wrap.
for
Awesome.
coming.
Thank you for
Glad you
having me.
came.
Yep.
Thank you.